Hello everyone, this is part 26 of What If Naruto and Hinata trained together and a spark happened, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. What? Tsunade grunted, looking like she had been punched in the stomach. Then she forced her surprise and fear away, and demanded, explain. We went to the waterfall lagoon this morning, Hinata started. She took a deep breath, trying to control her emotions. Then she gave Tsunade and Shizune a quick rundown of the morning's fun, and a more detailed accounting of the battle. He dragged Naruto into the ground. Despite her best efforts, Hinata was crying with frustration and worry by the end. I was ready to go after them, but one of Naruto's clones grabbed me and flash-stepped me away from the beach. He told me that I had come back and get reinforcements. So I ran back here as fast as I could. Hinata wiped her eyes with her wrists and glared at the Hokage again. We have to go, we have to save Naruto, the pale beauty insisted. It's not that simple, Hinata, Tsunade sighed. During the tale the elder medic had remained composed and thoughtful, though she too struggled. But now the Hokage was in full leader mode, thinking strategically. What? Why not? Hinata, Itachi gave us the locations of 14 different Akatsuki safe houses. Shizune put a comforting hand on the younger woman's shoulder while she explained. At the same time the healer began to subtly close the cuts and bruises the Hyuga heiress had acquired during the battle and her heedless escape. They could have been heading to any one of them, Tsunade nodded, or none of them. On top of that, only one is in the land of fire. We can't just send a whole platoon into another country, it would be considered an act of war. Well, we might be able to get away with it in the land of air if we send Temari. The extraction takes at least 3 days, the Hokage said reassuringly, and if Itachi's report is correct, even longer if they don't have at least 9 rings. So our best bet right now is not to rush in too fast. Hinata looked down so they couldn't see her eyes. She nodded once, and turned to leave. Excuse me, Lady Tsunade, the Chunin said hoarsely, I need to go clean up and get into my uniform. Go ahead, the Sannin agreed, we will let you know if we have any more questions, or if we find out anything. Hinata hurried out, not noticing that her aches were mostly gone. I'm sorry, Lady Tsunade, I can't wait, the teenage Chunin whispered fiercely, as she ran down the stairs. What now? Shizune asked after watching the girl leave. The Hokage did not answer in words. Instead she took an ornate key from inside her shirt and opened the bottom left drawer of her desk. The inside of the drawer was filled with an unusual crystal, and the leader of the Leaf Ninjas invoked an elaborate ninjutsu. The protective material melted away, leaving behind only a small, black candle. Shizune closed the door and the window shades as Tsunade set the talisman on the desk. She wrapped her fingers around the chakra-laced tala, and stared intently at the wick. I am Tsunade Senju, she flinched, hating using her surname, the 5th Hokage of the Konohagakure. I request an emergency meeting of the Conclave of Shadows. A black flame instantly appeared on the dark string. Instead of casting light into the room, it sent out a thick outline. The silhouette crept up the empty wall to the right of her desk, and then began to deepen and change. A black and grey door formed on the blank space. Once the portal was fully revealed, Tsunade stood, releasing the candle. She walked intently over to the previously hidden exit, and turned the handle. As soon as she was safely in her room with the door locked, Hinata stripped off the remains of her bikini and threw it unceremoniously in the trash. She opened the top drawer of her nightstand and withdrew 2 food pills, quickly swallowing them. Though it was generally considered a bad idea to take more than 1 food pill at a tea time. Unless you were of the Akamaiki clan, Hinata ignored common sense. She was almost out of chakra, and she would need to be at full. As she began to feel her energy recover, she activated the regeneration jutsu Tsunade had taught her, trying to heal her injuries. The young woman was surprised to find that except for the deeper cuts on her feet, all of her wounds were gone. So she focused the restorative energies down into her souls, and charged into her bathroom. The incensed Kunoichi took a hurried shower to clear her body of the dirt, blood, sweat, and sap from the battle and her retreat. Her chakra starting to overflow, Hinata blasted the water from her skin instead of using a towel. She quickly slid on her armored undergarments and covered her body in the reinforced silk of her shozaku. Clothed, she pulled on her stocking and shoes. Then she remembered something, and opened another drawer with a look of annoyance. She extracted her backup cellular, and flipped the phone open. She rapidly typed in the cancel code that would destroy her original phone, which was either still in her backpack on the beach or in the possession of the Akatsuki. She entered the second sequence to activate the spare, angrily lamenting the 30-minute activation time, during which she could only call ops. Hinata double-checked the equipment in her mission backpack, and slid the new phone into its pocket. Finally she picked up her leaf headband, and started to place it around her neck. The young woman paused, staring at the blue cloth covering the back of the metal shield. She took a deep breath, and placed the insignia against her forehead, tying the knot firmly into place under her braid. Hinata heard her father approaching. She wondered briefly if the Hokage or Shizune had asked him to look in on her. Unwilling to risk any delay, Hinata opened her window, and jumped to the ground, racing away even as she touched down. Behind the black door was a circular room only slightly larger than the Hokage's office. There were 4 other doors in the outer wall, and a ring-shaped table with 5 chairs around it in the center of the room. As she stepped forward, the door on her immediate left opened, and a slender young man with a short shock of red hair and a long crimson coat stepped out. Another shadow flashed out of the door and darted back out through the door behind Tsunade. The Hokage smirked at the Kazekage, who shrugged while his mouth turned up ever so slightly. The door on Tsunade's right opened, and the 11th Mizukage stepped through. Yasuo Mizuno was taller than Tsunade, and had a more muscular build than Gaara. However, the Mist Ninja was not overly brawny, either. His hair and goatee were more salt than pepper, despite being a few years younger than the Sanin's 50-some years. His blue-gray eyes addressed them sorrowfully through his smart, oval glasses. Another figure appeared behind him, and also vanished through the Hokage's door. Frowning, the medic closed the portal. You could get in trouble for that, Yasuo, she scolded him. He shrugged, smiling sadly. There is only one reason you would call for this meeting, he told them both, and my daughter has a certain fondness for some of your people. Unfortunately, her actions may not reflect my own decisions. Tsunade nodded, respecting his candor and understanding his position. The 3 leaders all looked at the last 2 doors, and Tsunade started to tap her foot impatiently. You know, I expect Mitsuru to be late, she grumbled, cursing every second they were delayed, but Goro is usually the second one here. The other door next to Gaara opened, and Mitsuru Jishin stepped through. The leader of the village hidden in the rocks was best described as compact. She was a full head shorter than Gaara, and weighed as much. Her build was thick without being fat, a fact her chainmail vest and skirt emphasized. The lines etched into her face marked her as being Tsunade's true age or older, but her brown hair trailed loose to the middle of her back, without a hint of gray or white. I apologize for my tardiness, the Tsuchikage told her counterparts, as was her custom. Her voice was deep and had an odd echoing quality, as if she were always speaking from a cave. Then she recognized that she was not the final Kage to appear. It appears I am not the last to arrive, for once, the land of Earth Jonan added. I cannot do this alone, Hinata told herself. Itachi did not know about the Reaper, which means there should be 7 rings, if no others have been killed, plus who knows how many lesser members. And possibly Madara Uchiha as well. I'll need help. As she thought that, she remembered something else. She paused, cancelling her shadow clones, before summoning Sol and Lune again. The 2 squirrels appeared before her, looking slightly confused. Mistress, I was. Sol led her head, noticing the human's change in appearance. I have already spoken to the Hokage, Hinata interrupted, thank you for your help. Dismiss. The ninja rodents looked dismayed as Hinata returned them to their homes. The Kunoichi regretted being short with them, and promised herself she would apologize later. Allies, she forced her mind back on track, the more the better. She expected she could count on their friends. She was tempted to ask Kakashi and Iruka, but she was afraid they would try to dissuade her. Lee and Tenten are on guard duty, she reminded herself, I should start there. She changed directions, running through the village. Though she did not spend her chakra to teleport or increase her speed, she brooked no delays, darting into alleys twice when the main streets became too crowded. After 2 long minutes, Hinata reached the main gates. But her heart fell when she saw Genma and Rado instead of her peers. What happened to Tenten? She asked quickly yet carefully. I thought she was on guard duty. We relieved Tenten and Lee, Rado said. I don't know where she went. Oh, thank you. Hinata made sure she had moved away before she let herself frown. She dashed away, considering her next move. But her deliberations didn't take long. She knew whom she needed to seek next. The person she would have sought first, had she not expected to be able to find 2 allies in one place. The Haruno family's home was closer to the entrance than the Hyuga estate, and Hinata arrived in just over a minute's travel. She took a moment to compose herself, and knocked on the door. She struggled not to fidget as she waited. Just a minute, a gentle, mature voice called from inside the house. A few seconds later, the door swung inwards, revealing Sakura's mother, Sakuya Haruno. Hello, Hinata. She inclined her head to the younger Kunoichi. Are you looking for Sakura? Yes, ma'am. The Chunin nodded her assent. I'm sorry, but she's not here now, the bookseller said regretfully. Oh. Hinata sighed. Do you have any idea where she is? She was working in the hospital this morning. Sakuya pondered the question. I think she was going to train with Lady Tsunade after lunch, so she might be at Ops. Thank you. Hinata bowed. I will check there. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Hinata. The Haruno matriarch inclined her head, and as she closed the door wore a slightly worried look. Hinata sighed again. She knew she should tell Sakura next, but did not want to risk going anywhere near headquarters. Similarly, her next choice would be Neji, but the most likely place to find him would be at the clan's manor, and she did not think that would be a good idea either. Kiba and Shino, she thought, I can count on them, and they can help me contact Sakura and the others. The Inazuka Lodge is closest. The first 4 cages to arrive had all taken their seats, still waiting for the Reikage. The Tsuchikage was waiting patiently, while the Hokage was obviously annoyed. The Mizukage tapped one finger, indicating his growing irritation. And a deep frown and a furrowed brow creased the Kazekage's normally impassive face. The door to the Land of Lightning opened, and the Reikage, Goro Yotsuki strode into the conclave. The leader of the hidden cloud village glared around the room imperiously, before dropping heavily into his chair. Why have you summoned us, Tsunade? He demanded, ignoring their incredulous glares. Even Mitsuru was stirred by his gall. But considering what was at stake, Tsunade bit back her angry retort, and answered directly. The Akatsuki have captured Naruto Uzumaki, she informed them. Neither Gaara nor Yasuo reacted. Both of her allies had already deduced the reason for the meeting. Mitsuru looked mildly shocked at the news. And Goro snorted derisively. And the Reikage shrugged. What would you have us do? Ideally, I want you to help me find and recover him. The Sanin medic was losing control of her infamous temper, but bearing that, any updated intel you have on the Akatsuki. Or at the very least, sanction a rescue mission by my people if Naruto is being held outside the Land of Fire. Why should we do this? The Mizukage asked quickly after she was finished. Isn't this an internal matter for the Hidden Leaf Village? Tsunade was able to calm herself at his query. Yasuo was a natural devil's advocate, questioning everything thoroughly and from all sides. The Tsuchikage respected his opinion, as did the Reikage, to a lesser degree. If she could put aside his doubts, it would go a long way to convincing those two. Multiple reasons. The Fire Shadow addressed the Water Shadow directly. The Akatsuki grow stronger daily. When they bring together the rogue ninjas and bandits they have recruited, and the mercenaries they have hired, they will have an army that can crush any of the lesser villages, and maybe even rival one of our villages. They have recently enlisted the woman who calls herself the Reaper of Ninja into their inner circle. What does that have to do with this kidnapping? Goro interrupted. Directly, nothing, Tsunade conceded with a shrug, and a smug expression, just pointing out if we keep waiting and watching, secure in our supposed superiority, it could be too late sooner than you think. And that is why we should work together to save Naruto, Gaara argued softly. Handing over the Kyuubi to the Akatsuki is lunacy, as is giving up our only reliable bait. The Tsuchikage nodded slowly, but the Mizukage remained carefully neutral, and the Reikage was jovially dismissive. Strap him down, the scientist ordered. She was in her mid to late 30s, of average height and build, with pale, watery, blue eyes. And her face split with rage as her assistants started to follow her instructions. No, you idiots, she shouted, take that thing off his back first. Why did you bring that anyway? The researcher asked calmly, glancing back at Zetsu. It is a chakra-bonded weapon, the black side noted, connected to him. We thought even if it isn't helpful as a point of reference in the extraction, you might want to study it on its own merits. A weapon with the Kyuubi's chakra, she purred, looking at Kitsune with interest. We've never had something like that before. Then the scientist shook her head, forcing her mind back to the matter at hand. What did you dose him with? She asked. Night Trap Azalea, the white side answered glibly. Really, that seems a bit excessive. He regenerates, the black half of the renegade explained, very quickly, from what we've heard. I was afraid anything less wouldn't keep him out long enough to bring him back here. Fair enough, she conceded. Would you please tell Toby that we are beginning the examination? Toby, the two parts of Zetsu asked in unison. Lord Payne and Lady Conan had other issues to attend to, she shrugged, unconcerned, and when he left, Lord Payne told us Toby was in charge. The plant shinobi nodded, and left. Hinata was starting to wonder if she had earned some bad karma. She hadn't been able to find anyone. Kiba's mother had told her that Kiba, Shino, and Sasam were out training. She suspected she knew where they were, but she didn't want to leave the village yet, especially if she happened to be wrong. Shikamaru had been neither at home, nor at his favorite cloud-watching spot. Not long after leaving the Nara house, Hinata had been forced to hide from Iruka Yumino, but his demeanor told her that the Hokage had not told anyone of Naruto's abduction. She considered approaching the Jonin, but was not sure she could count on him not to advise her to wait, or even contact the Hokage and tell her what Hinata was doing. After he was gone, Hinata pondered who she should try finding. As if in answer to her earlier worry about her fortunes, her next move fell into her lap. Hey, Hinata, she heard a familiar voice call out. She turned with a look of intense grawd towards Ino. The other Chunin was in civilian clothes, and was carrying a shopping bag. Are you going on a mission? The blonde woman asked in surprise. I thought Choji said you guys wouldn't have any missions until the results of the Jonin trials were announced. Ino, thank the gods, the pale Kunoichi almost sobbed in relief. I've been looking all over, but I haven't been able to find anyone. Hinata, what is it? The older teen asked, worried by the Hyuga heiress's reaction. Naruto has been kidnapped, Hinata told her softly, stepping over to the side of the road. Ino followed her away from the few people in the street, her eyes becoming like saucers in astonishment. What? When? Just over 2 hours ago, the dark-haired girl answered, we were attacked by the Akatsuki, and they captured Naruto. His clone forced me to get away. Gods! Ino's jaw dropped. You have to tell the Hokage. I did, Hinata said bitterly. She said that since it will take 3 days for them to kill Naruto, it isn't a priority yet. No way, Ino gaped even wider. Then she closed her mouth nodding, so that's why you're looking for everyone. Okay, count me in. Yamanaka paused and tilted her head in confused curiosity, but why are you running around? Why not just call everyone? I was forced to leave my phone behind when Naruto's clone used body flicker to take me away from the fight, Hinata told her. And your spare is still initializing, Ino deduced. Yes, Hinata nodded, then she brightened. Wait, what about your phone? It's at home, Ino said guiltily. I was just running a quick errand, and I didn't want to go up to my room to get it. Then let's split up for now, Hinata suggested regretfully, not wanting to be alone. You can go home, get your equipment, and start calling everyone. I will keep searching. I can call you when my phone is ready. Okay, Ino agreed with a sad smile. Then she embraced Hinata gently, and whispered, we'll get him back Hinata. No way we'll let those assholes kill that knucklehead. Thank you, Ino. The pale beauty barely contained a sniffle. Tsunade wanted to punch something. The earth shadow simply sat there, listening. The fire shadow knew that the grudge from the last war was still there, however she also recognized that Mitsuru was pragmatic enough to take the longer view. But she was not called, the avalanche, for nothing. She was tough to move, but once she started, she would do her best to steamroll everything in her path. The Hokage was counting on finally turning that impetus towards Madara and Payne's organization. The lightning shadow was a greater annoyance. He still held the Leaf Village responsible for the death of his cousin at the hands of Hiashi Hyuga 13 years prior. And aside from that, he did not appear to consider the Akatsuki as worthy of his notice. As a result, he was flippant during the entire meeting, tossing aside every bit of logic. But the water shadow was the one who was really making her mad. She knew he liked to make sure every issue was fully explored, taking the opposing side if he found a flaw in the original argument, whatever his personal opinion was. But today he was taking it too far. She had counted on the fact that he would support her, both because of their strong alliance, and because her knowledge that he had not told the conclave the idini of the seven fins Jinchuriki. They argued back and forth about the merits of having Naruto's strength against the Akatsuki, versus the Leaf Village having his power should the great villages go to war again. They debated the possibility that the Six-Tails Chameleon, or the Seven Fins Shark, or both, had been captured. They discussed the potential to use Naruto to lure out Pain and Madara if he was rescued, as the Wind Shadow had previously suggested. The Hokage then made a less than subtle comments about the Raikage's manhood and parentage. For a second he appeared ready to attack her, or at least stoop to her level, but then he just shrugged and ignored the insult. I should have known better. Tsunade wrested control of her voice back from her temper. Yugito-ni was a respected hidden cloud ninja, and you didn't lift a finger to help after she was taken out of your very village. Why, you arrogant wench, he started to growl, but was cut off. The truth hurts, doesn't it? Gaara asked quietly. The simple statement left Goro sputtering. The Kazekage turned his attention to the Tsuchikage. Lady Mitsuru, Gaara addressed her by name, we know that you tried very hard to rescue the one called Roshi, after he was captured. Do you not want revenge, as I do? Do you not want to spare another shinobi from being subjected to that fate? For the first time since Goro's disrespectful arrival and Tsunade's announcement of the abduction, Mitsuru showed a sliver of emotion, determination. Tsunade prevented her joy from showing. Nice job, kid, she commended Gaara silently. Toby, the scientist inclined her head slightly as the ring bearer entered the lab. Though the head researcher's reaction was casual, her assistant scrambled to put the finishing touches on the chakra seal they were inscribing on the floor and walls. My, the masked renegade bent low over the leaf ninja. What a big fish they caught. Are you ready to gut him? The preparations for the 5 elements seal drill are nearly complete, she said hesitantly, but there is a problem. She placed her hand on Naruto's stomach and probed with her chakra. The black 8 trigrams divination seal appeared, as did the purple zodiac seal over the top of it. There's another seal, Toby noted blandly. What does that mean? It will take much longer to drill through safely, the chakra expert answered. How long? Toby asked, seemingly worried. You told Lord Pain it would take 4 days to breach the 8 trigrams seal. Does this mean it will take 8 days? He won't be happy with that. Actually, 10 to do safely, she shook her head. The zodiac seal is stronger and the interaction makes the process more tenuous. Can't you do it any faster? Toby whined, pleadingly. As I told Lord Pain, the 5 elements drill can go quite fast. But the faster I go, the more chance of the host dying, or the demon escaping. I could probably break through both seals together in only 5 days, but there is more than a 60% chance Uzumaki would die, and roughly a 70% chance the Nine-Tails Fox would escape and kill us all. And what if you just broke the zodiac seal? He asked, already expecting the answer. That would only take about 4 hours, she conceded, but given how the 2 seals interact, there would be almost a 90% chance that the demon would escape. And then kill us all. Toby nodded sagely, noting, I'd like to avoid the killing us all part. Then I guess I'll have to unravel the seal, he continued, his voice oddly serious. You know how to do that. The scientist was amazed. Maybe. Toby reverted to his more normal tone, sounding humorously unsure. Then he spoke hard again, instructing, everyone leave. Why? She asked. Oh, in case something goes wrong, he shrugged. Besides, I need my secrets. Something in his voice at the last made the normally taciturn researcher shudder. She nodded to her aides, who quickly left. Then she looked back at the Akatsuki member reluctantly. Are you sure about this? She asked, her eyes narrowing. We could contact Lord Pain. Nope. Toby countered glibly. Deidara just reported in. Hinata Hyuga escaped. The Konoha already knows we have the kid, so we probably don't have a lot of time. This should only take me 10 hours, and it is safer than breaking the seal. She nodded again, and left the lab. Madara locked the door behind her, and removed both his literal and figurative masks. His red eyes stared down at Naruto's stomach, the indicators of the Mangekyo Sharingan circling rapidly from his excitement. It has been a long time, my rebellious servant, he purred. We are fighting dreamers. Takumi wo Mezushi. Hinata skidded to a halt, fumbling for her phone as it started, ringing. N.A. Naruto. She stammered into the receiver, frightened yet cautiously hopeful. No, Hinata, it's Sakura. The familiar voice on the other end was confused. Oh. Hinata mumbled, I guess I need to update the ringtones on my backup. Where are you? Sakura nearly shouted at her teammate, everyone is waiting for you. We're at the number 3 target range. I thought we should meet up outside the village. Get over here as fast as you can. Everyone is waiting for me. She thought as Sakura disconnected. She quickly pocketed the cellular, and sped through the village towards the main gate. For the second time that day, she did not slow as she passed the guards. Call ops, Rado instructed Genma, something's going on. Hinata ran down the path, carefully controlling her confusion, her disappointment, and most importantly her hope. Finally she reached the clearing, and found it far more full than she had expected. Sakura was there, of course. Hinata was also unsurprised to find Neji, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Shino, Sasum, and Kiba and Akamaru waiting. She was slightly surprised to see Lee and Tenten standing by Neji, as they had just gotten off guard duty. Given Shikamaru's presence, Temari's attendance was also something that did not shock Hinata, but the last two shinobi were completely unexpected. Both Kankuro and Kaide Mizuno were mingling with the Leaf Ninja. She looked around at her friends and allies thankfully, before settling on her first recruit. Ino, did you? Not me. The stylish blonde shook her head. Sakura did this. I had a voicemail from her waiting for me. Sakura, how? I was at Ninja Ops when you arrived, the pink-haired Kunoiki explained. I was worried when I saw you, so I listened in. When the Hokage said we had to wait, I knew she was wrong, and I was pretty sure you would agree. Speaking of not waiting, Temari said tensely, remembering what happened to her brother the previous year, we should get moving. Wait, Hinata said softly. She took a deep breath to steady herself, and the announced, before we can leave, there is something you all need to know. Naruto was worried this day would come, she said softly, apprehensively, so he made me promise that before I let his friends try to save him from the Akatsuki, I would tell them why this was happening. The Hokage told us that the Akatsuki were a threat, but she didn't tell us the entire story. Naruto wanted you to know the truth before you put your lives at risk. Hinata, don't, Sakura ordered her harshly, you know the law. And we need their help. The third Hokage's restriction doesn't apply, because it is Naruto's wish, Hinata countered, and this is not a mission. We could all be counted at renegades for doing this. They need to know. Many of the assembled shinobi looked confused by the exchange, but the number who did not surprised both women. Sakura stared sternly at her younger teammate for a moment, and then nodded. If it was Naruto, he would probably give you the backstory and the guilt trip first, Hinata told them, but I am just going to say it outright. She took a deep breath, and looked at them determinedly. Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tails Fox Demon, she announced, steadying herself for their reactions. Neji just nodded, as did Shikamaru. None of the three foreign ninjas were surprised by the news. And Shino betrayed no more emotion than usual. Lee frowned, taking in the news. Tenten looked visibly frightened, as did Sasum. Choji's mouth dropped open. Ino was disturbed, but her expression was more sad than anything else. The only one to vocalize more than a gasp was Kiba. What the heck, Hinata? The dog trainer roared, this isn't the time for jokes. This is no joke, Sakura snapped back, not to us, and especially not to Naruto. The Kyuubi is the reason why the Akatsuki captured Naruto, Hinata added, and he wanted his friends to have the whole story before you tried to rescue him. What rescue? Kiba chuckled harshly, why should we go through with this? Naruto is a comrade, Shikamaru said, and more than that, a friend. He's done good by us, though with the way we used to treat him, none of us deserve it. Well, except for Hinata. But we would be saving the demon that nearly destroyed the village, Tenten objected softly, that killed so many people, before the fourth Hokage defeated it. Iruka-sensei does not appear to begrudge Naruto the Fox's actions, Neji told his lover, and the demon killed both of his parents. Yeah, Iruka-sensei's some kind of saint, Kiba growled, but that doesn't mean we should put ourselves out there for that monster. Smack! Kiba's head spun from the force of the slap, and he tumbled to the ground. Everyone blinked, and glanced at Hinata, but Naruto's girlfriend had not moved. Instead, Ino Yamanaka was standing over Kiba, tears streaming down her face. He's not a monster, her voice was livid despite her tears, he's a human being who was forced to contain a demon. He protected us from that thing, and we tortured him for it. He was lonely, with no one to trust. We should count ourselves lucky that Mizuki was the only one who tried to use Naruto, if it had been someone smarter. Choji put his hand on Ino's shoulder and she dove into his chest. Like Ino's lover, Shikamaru and Temari recognized that Naruto was not the only Jinchuriki Ino was thinking about. Indeed, everyone except Kage had heard the tale of Ino's encounter with the vessel of the Shadow Rock. I know I'm still the newcomer, Sasam said softly, meeting Hinata's gaze reassuringly, before looking at Kiba and Tenten, and I was shocked and a little afraid when Hinata said that Naruto contains a demon. But Naruto is the one of the kindest, most generous people I know. I betrayed him, and he not only forgave me, he helped me. So it doesn't matter to me that he is a Jinchuriki, I will help Naruto. You're right, Tenten nodded, looking chagrined. I'm sorry, Hinata, of course I'm with you. You don't have to apologize, Hinata shook her head. Naruto expected everyone would react like this. He didn't want anyone to feel they were tricked into this. Well, I do have to apologize then, Kiba backed away as he stood, because I'm out. Even if I accepted that Naruto and the fox are separate, that demon killed my uncle and his wife, and my aunt. So I think it deserves whatever the Akatsuki do to it. Idiot, Neji snorted. What was that? Kiba snarled at Jonan. The Akatsuki intend to use the Kyuubi as some sort of weapon, Neji answered condescendingly, how many more will die if we let those rogues take the beast? Naruto, Temari said, Naruto will die if the Akatsuki remove the demon. Quote. Akamaru, Shino interjected, do you want to come with us? The large hound looked at his partner, and then back to Shino, barking loudly once. What? Kiba looked at the dog in confusion, why? When Akamaru was infected with the bio-weapon, the insect user reminded his teammate, he attacked Naruto, and despite that, Naruto defied the Hokage and risked his life to help save Akamaru. I'm sure Akamaru hasn't forgotten that, either. So, even though Naruto wanted us to have a choice in the matter, Kiba grumbled, if I don't choose to help, I'm a big, insensitive, ungrateful, bigoted jerk. Don't forget you'll be helping the enemies of your village, Kankuro reminded him sarcastically. If you decide not to help Naruto, I'm sure it will make Hanabi happy, Hinata suggested innocently. A shudder went down Kiba's spine. Okay, fine, I'm in, he told them guiltily, but when I see that guy, I'm gonna slug him in the gut for not telling us sooner. 12 zodiac animals, Madara examined Hinata's seal, forming a dodecahedral web. But where did it start and where does it end? He probed each of the anchors in turn, studying how they connected, and how they reacted. The Uchiha founder was forced to admit a grudging respect for whoever had crafted the secondary cage. It was perfectly balanced. Unable to find the loose thread from the outside, Madara moved to hover over Naruto's face. He pried open one of the younger man's eyes and stared deeply into it with his own red orb. Tsukiyomi, he incanted, pouring his thoughts into the leaf Chunan's mind. Madara was amused to find himself in the middle of a vast field of flowers. He could feel the divide, with the teenage human on one side and the fox demon on the other. Uzumaki responded sluggishly to the new arrival, looking at him in confusion. Who are you? The blonde asked lazily. This caught the Kyuubi's attention. She lifted her head, and her crimson eyes flared. Uchiha, she screeched, how did you get here, you bastard? Is that any way to speak to your master? Madara taunted. The demon roared in response, and charged him. But the Sharingan user was on Naruto's side of the seal, and the net of flowers stopped the Bayu. She howled again, and sent her chakra crashing through the floral barrier, trying to force him out of Naruto's soul. But the raw energy had no effect. If anything, Madara appeared to drink it in and become more solid. Uzumaki blinked at him, too deeply drugged to recognize what was happening. Why are you here, Madara? The fox stepped back from the boundary, still livid but now more in control. To set you free, he answered, watching closely as the web of vines retracted once again. I need to find the key to unraveling the zodiac seal. Then my followers will be able to take you out of Naruto. Bullshit, the demon scoffed, you don't want to free me. You're going to take me from the kit, and seal me in that statue, so you can use my power. Of course. You belong to me. This little vacation has made you mouthy again, but soon I will remind you of your place. He sneered viciously as he turned and started to walk towards the edge of the field. Look forward to it, he offered as parting shot, as he faded back to the real world. Madara lifted his head, and turned back to Naruto's belly. The fox's display had inadvertently given him the information he needed. Start with the dragon, he noted as he began to craft the hand signs that would remove the anchor and pass its links to him to continue the removal of the seal. How do we find Naruto? Lee asked. The assembled rescue team paused, and looked to Hinata. Well, she froze slightly at being the center of attention, but remembering Naruto being pulled into the ground drove out her hesitation. We should go to the Akatsuki base in the Land of Fire, she told them, it is closest, and if Naruto isn't there, we can probably find out where he is. Kage and Shikamaru both nodded, but Shino shook his head. If you don't mind, I may have a faster way, the insect user noted, taking out a miniature cage. Inside was a small beetle with bright blue eyes and a long, elephantine nose. Its shell was mottled brown and gray, but Sakura, Hinata, and Kiba recognized it anyway. It's the Baikotsu, Hinata noted. Yes, we have been breeding her these past few years, with moderate success, Shino explained, but this species does not live much longer than 4 years. So I thought she might like one last chance to fulfill her primary purpose. Then we should go to the lagoon and start from there, Hinata suggested. Why are we stopping again? Temari demanded grumpily, we just took a half-hour break 3 hours ago. The Baikotsu is near the end of her life, and I feel it is best if we do not tax her too much, Shino explained, feeding the beetle and also providing her with some of his chakra. It's almost nightfall, and we're at the edge of the Land of Fire, Hinata suggested, so perhaps we should make camp and continue after we've all had a chance to rest. After all, this is no mere group of bandits we are facing. We need to be at our best. Neji and Temari both nodded. Then the 4 Jonin took charge, arranging smaller groups to find food and set up a perimeter. Somewhat conspicuously, they avoided assigning any tasks to Hinata. The de facto leader slumped down against a tree. Now that she was no longer charging forward, she found it even harder to keep her emotions in check. Then a blanket was draped over her shoulders, and Tenten sat next to her. How are you doing, Hinata? The older Chunin asked. Hinata tried to smile, but couldn't. It's hard, the Byakugan expert whispered harshly, not even 9 hours ago, Naruto and I were having fun at the beach. Our biggest worry was the outcome of the Jonin trials. Now we're all AWOL, getting ready to attack a group of S-rank criminals, and Naruto's life hangs in the balance. Hinata trembled as she sighed, determined not to cry. The only bright spot is that everyone is here. Naruto was so sure that most of you would turn your backs on him. It was a big shock, Tenten admitted, and I guess that explains why Naruto had it so rough. But what Ino and Sasam said is right. Naruto is our friend, and he wouldn't hesitate to do this for any of us. Get some rest, the weapon specialist advised as she stood. I'll come get you when the food is ready. Thank you, Tenten. Hinata finally managed to smile, even as her eyelids grew heavy. Are you sure about this? Choji asked Kiba suddenly. The 2 young men had caught a moderate-sized buck, and were bringing their prize back to the makeshift camp. What about you? Kiba counted carefully. You didn't look too happy to find out Naruto is a Naruto's little secret. I was surprised, the large youth conceded, but after what happened in the Sound Village, I can understand how hard a Jinchuriki can have it. And I don't have any doubts that Naruto and the Kyuubi are separate creatures, like Yori and the Rock. Besides, Shikamaru apparently figured it out years ago, and I trust him. Kiba didn't have anything to say. Choji, Kankuro's voice emerged from the twilight seconds before the puppeteer himself, can you take the deer alone? I'd like to have a few words with Kiba. Sure thing, Akamaki shouldered the carcass, and lumbered back towards camp. You got a problem. Kiba asked loudly, not entirely comfortable being alone with the hidden sand Jonin. Yes, I do, Gaara's older brother said directly, and Inuzuka tensed. But for Naruto's sake, I'm not going to make an issue of it now, Kankuro elaborated. I just wanted to say if you're really not sure you want to help, turn back now. And no one will think the less of me, I suppose. Oh, no, Kankuro grinned wickedly, everyone will know just what kind of man you are. I expect even Hinata won't be able to totally overlook it. The sand ninja turned back towards the camp, and started to walk away. Why are you here? Kiba suddenly asked. I mean, Naruto's not even from your village. Yeah, but we owe him, big time, Kankuro admitted. I don't know how much you know, but Naruto saved Gaara's life and his sanity. If it weren't for that punk, my brother would still be a sadistic killer, instead of a noble, respected leader. And Temari and I would probably be dead by Gaara's hands. So make up your mind, Kiba, Kankuro instructed firmly. If you're not fully committed, you'll just drag us down. The older shinobi walked away, leaving the Chunin alone with his thoughts. Enough, Tsunade sighed, we've been over and over this. At this point, it almost seems like you're just arguing to be contrary. She directed the complaint at the Mizukage and Reikage. Yasuo looked upset, but Goro chuckled at the statement. The leaders of the 5 great villages had discussed and debated the Akatsuki and Naruto all afternoon. They had taken a break for dinner, before resuming their talks. The hour had been quickly approaching midnight, when the Hokage had her outburst. Everyone is tired, Mitsuru offered, perhaps we should take a short recess. Gaara nodded, but Goro had other ideas. Maybe we should just drop this for tonight, and resume in the morning, the lightning shadow suggested, yawning hyperbolically for effect. I can agree to a 15-minute break, the wind shadow shook his head, but any longer would be negligent. Fine, a quarter hour, Goro waved his hand, unless there are any objections. He directed the question to the water and fire shadows, but neither said anything. The Reikage stood with a theatrical groan, and exited out his door. The earth shadow closed her eyes, and began to snore lightly. Yasuo, Tsunade whispered angrily, closing in on the Mizukage, what are you doing? I know you like to cover all the angles, but this is getting ridiculous. Why are you still arguing with us and with the Reikage? Are you really still trying to decide? No, my mind is made up, the Mizukage informed them. As Gaara moved closer, I am still hoping I can sway Goro. A unanimous agreement would serve us better than a 4-1 vote. You won't convince him, the Kazekage told his counterparts, he has already made up his mind. He is stalling us at this point, and possibly hoping to sway Lady Mitsuru. You think he is trying to keep us here? Tsunade turned back to her younger ally, no longer keeping her voice in check. As do I, the Tsuchikage abandoned her pretense of sleep, and stood to join them. Why would he do that? The leader of the village hidden in the mist said darkly, doesn't he realize what's at stake here? The query left them silent in worried thought, until the Hokage spoke again. Unless he's not concerned about the possibility of the Akatsuki capturing the 9 tails, Tsunade mused angrily. What are you suggesting? The Stone Village leader prompted. I can think of 2 reasons he wouldn't care if Madara got his hands on the 9 tails again, the younger Kunoichi answered. Either he has the 6 tails or 7 fins in custody, and knows that there is still time. Or he is in league with the Akatsuki. Madara Uchiha stepped back from the comatose form of Naruto Uzumaki with a harsh sigh. He fumbled for his mask, and took a deep breath to steady himself to resume his Toby persona. After Orochimaru's defection, he had started to second-guess allowing Pain to lead the Akatsuki, so when Sasori was destroyed and Deidara allowed Gaara to escape, the Uchiha founder inserted himself into the ring-bearers' ranks under the guise of lovable Toby. The facade amused Madara, both because it was fun to be Toby, and because it thoroughly annoyed Konan. Madara shook his head, smirking darkly under his mask as he glanced back at the still visible 8 trigrams divination seal. He supposed his encounter with the Kyuubi was making him nostalgic. 16 years was a long time, even for an immortal with more than a century under his belt. Realizing he was doing it again, he unlocked the door, and trudged out. After all, Toby was the type to slump and shuffle when he was exhausted, and disguise or not, the Akatsuki founder was drained. All done, he told the waiting chakra researcher, with a thumbs up, it was a little tougher than I thought. Good, we'll get started on the removal, the scientist said, ushering her assistants back into the extraction room. As he turned to head back to his room for a nap, he was instead confronted by Mayuko Kakayoku. The rogue Chunin from the land of snow bowed slightly, and delivered her report. Lord Toby, she started, but he raised his hand to interrupt her. Mayuko, I'm tired, so can you make this quick, he yawned, and for the 17th time don't call me, Lord. Or, Master, or, Boss, for that matter. However, I wouldn't mind if you called me Toby Onisan or just Big Brother. Okay, Toby, she said hesitantly, making it quick. Deodara and the Reaper returned about 2 hours ago, they are resting. Our spies in the Leaf Village report a small group of the Jinchuriki's friends have disappeared. What? That's all. He pouted. He grew slightly serious, and instructed her, send out Harrier units to intercept Leaf Ninjas. We need to buy as much time as we can. Yes, sir, she answered, and then darted away. Toby yawned again, and resumed his exaggerated hobble back to his quarters. The shadows of earth, fire, wind, and water had all returned to their seats by the time the lightning shadow returned. They quickly drew the rakeage back into the debate, but this time with a plan. Though on the surface the positions were unchanged, they now structured their arguments to try to determine Goro's reasoning. But knowing the Cloud Ninja would not slip up easily, the 4 other leaders also set a time limit of 2 hours. Unfortunately, Goro lived up to their expectations, and as the clock struck 2, they were no closer to an answer. I grow tired of this, Mitsuru finally rumbled. The issues surrounding the Hokage's proposal have been more than thoroughly discussed. I do not believe there is anything that can be said now that will change any of our minds. She directed her attention to Tsunade, and continued, I do not intend to provide you assistance in terms of manpower. However, I am willing to share all of our current intelligence on the movements of the Akatsuki, and to sanction this rescue mission so your troops may enter the land of Earth or the lesser nations allied with us. Shall we put that to a vote? All in favor of an open exchange of data and officially endorsing the mission to rescue Naruto Uzumaki. One addendum, if you don't mind, the Mizukage put forth, I would like it stipulated that any hidden village that sees fit to officially assist in this rescue be allowed to do so. I understand Naruto has made some friends outside the Leaf Village, and it would be a shame to start an international incident because they decided to help in this. Mitsuru and Gaara both nodded, and Goro rolled his eyes. Shall we vote then? The Kazekage prompted, raising his hand. The Hokage quickly followed suit, with the Mizukage and Tsuchikage also indicating their agreement. Then all 4 turned to look at the Raikage. Fine, he exhaled grudgingly, putting up his arm. Then he reached into his jacket, and withdrew a CD-ROM, which he threw viciously at Tsunade. The Sannin caught the disc and set it on the table. That's everything my intelligence units have gathered on the Akatsuki, for all the good it will do you, he grumbled standing, and I will be expecting copies of your data in return, by the end of the day. Now, since you don't need me anymore, I'll be going to bed. Goro exited out the portal leading to the Kumogakure, slamming the door behind him. A few seconds later, the door became a shadow, and then faded away. After he was gone, Mitsuru stood, and walked around the table to Tsunade. She took out a scroll and handed it to the slightly younger woman. I am guessing you won't need me anymore, either, the Earth Ninja told them, but I do wish you luck, for what it is worth. Thank you, Tsunade told her counterpart warmly. Mitsuru just smiled in response and headed back to her gate. But before she left, she turned back to them and grinned ruefully. And while I see no issue with you 3 planning here, she warned them, I would remind you it is against the covenant to use this room to transport troops. Of course, Gaara agreed with a straight face, but Tsunade and Yasuo both looked away sheepishly. The Tsuchikage nodded as she withdrew, and as with the Raikage, her portal vanished with her. During the early morning guard switch, Sakura convinced Hinata to submit to a genjutsu so she could get a few hours of sleep. Naruto's girlfriend had taken a brief nap before dinner, but as the others settled down, the Hyuga heiress found herself wide awake. She had been trying to figure out how much time they had left. And she had felt guilty for risking her friends' lives and careers, even if it was for Naruto. It was only thanks to Sakura's illusion that Hinata was able to get any rest. Though Hinata was forced into a deep slumber, it was hardly restful. Her dreams were plagued by shadowy figures in red and black cloaks, and the half-formed shapes of the nine-tailed beasts. It almost came as a relief when Shikamaru's chakra touched hers, removing the spell. But the loss of the nightmare was replaced by the knowledge that they were into Naruto's second day of capture. The 14 shinobi were already on the move when the sun crested the horizon. They had foregone breakfast, knowing that in 2.5 to 3 hours they would be taking another rest for the aging beetle. But before that occurred, the rescue party crossed into the land of forests, which along with the land of silver, occupied the space between the land of fire and the land of lightning. There were 3 of the known Akatsuki hideouts in the general direction they were heading, one in the land of forests, and the other 2 in the land of lightning. The land of forests did not worry them. The country was sparsely populated, and did not possess a hidden village, since the Kyuubi had annihilated the village hidden in the lakes 17 years earlier. However, the land of lightning was more dangerous. The matter of entering one of the 5 great nations and potentially clashing with the hidden cloud village aside, to reach the land of lightning they would either have to travel by sea, or pass through the land of silver. As the name implied, the small country was known for its mineral resources. The country was guarded fiercely by the village hidden in the mines, a shinobi village known for having never lost a defensive battle. Being discovered by the mines ninjas could slow or even end their mission entirely. But crossing the sea between the lands of forests and lightning could slow them down even more. But all considerations about the difficulties reaching the goal left the minds of the ninja when a cloud of shuriken crossed their path. Following close behind were more than a dozen warriors, clad in full stealth gear. Tsunade emerged from the portal, and quickly snuffed the candle. As she dropped heavily into her chair, Shizune rushed over. Lady Tsunade, her apprentice started, but the Hokage cut her off. She set 2 scrolls, a manila folder and the CD-ROM on her desk as she spoke. We have their approval, she told the younger healer, and their intel. The Mist and Sand are each sending a 5-man strike team each to assist us. Tsunade finally looked at Shizune's face, and saw her anxiety. What? The leader of the Leaf Shinobi asked grumpily. The Gon, Shizune told her, Naruto's friends. All of them. Not Konohamaru's group, but all of the members of Teams Guy, Kakashi, Anko, and Yugao, along with Temari, Kankuro, and Kaide Mizuno, Shizune confirmed. Also the Aburame clan leader informs me that the Baikochu specimen kept to Naruto sent, went missing, yesterday. Tsunade grunted appreciatively, that's a pretty good idea. You're not mad. Shizune settled slightly at the Sanin's reaction. I expected Hinata or Sakura would do something like this, the Hokage answered. If I didn't want them to leave, I would have ordered the Anbu to watch them. Anyway, get their team leaders in here, and Iruka for good measure. We'll send them out to intercept the kids and meet the teams from the other villages. Tsunade picked up the disc and extended it to her assistant, and then give this to the tech boys. Have them triple check it on isolated system before they start analyzing the data. I wouldn't put it past Goro to have some sort of intrusion program on there. The younger Jonan bowed and hurried out. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.